And with me, Sieh and Tsubasa covering the LoL Worlds 2020 draw. As you can see, just starting up right now. I'm really excited for it because even though the fans aren't there, all the teams finally get to come play on stage. And this Worlds especially is going to be really competitive. So how are you feeling, Tsubasa?
I mean, like, who isn't going to be excited? This is Worlds, and like, this is the biggest event for all of our League of Legends family here. Like, unlike other games, we don't get that many international tournaments. So, like, this is going to be one of those rare opportunities where we see every possible region clash against each other. So, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. Like the fact that every region sort of like works towards this international event, trying to establish themselves, their name in the region, sort of here, and like make it here to like sort of validate their work that they've put in. Absolutely humongous. This was especially with teams like Damwon and Top Esports just sort of toppling what we know to be the legacy good teams. Like we don't have SKT this world, we don't have the defending champions in Fun Plus Phoenix. So like the teams coming here, they've already sort of made their name in the region, sort of establishing themselves. Now they're trying to take over the throne for themselves.
Exactly right. It feels like usually these couple of like big name teams, which would be like, oh, this time it's going to be SKT, or it's going to be Samsung or IG or XYZ, right? Even though like there are obviously regional favorites, like we know that some regions are going to be like stronger and have an advantage. There's none of these like, oh, these guys are the previous world champions. We need to take the title away from them. Like there's no such scenario this time. So at this point, see, it seems almost like this might be anyone's game as long as like they can show up in the current patch and perform at their level best.
Yeah, and having said that, like we are in this scenario in the world where like the COVID virus sort of just has denied two teams from
Mhm.
making it to Worlds. So the Vietnamese team's not going to be able to make it to Worlds. As you can see, it's only going to be 22 teams. What this actually enables for the other teams, like forgetting like the disappointing fact for the Vietnamese region in general, the fact that they're not able to make it, but this enables like that extra team from the playing stage to make it to the group stage. Now, because there's only 22 teams, as you can see in the playing stage, it's going to be the top team automatically making it, and then the third and fourth place team getting a chance to once again try and make their way towards the group stage. So, sort of giving that extra opportunity that we would not normally have in a Worlds format because of the fact that there were 24 teams. So, that is something I'm really excited for because every Worlds we see like the minor regions pull off some sort of miracle and like actually make their name, but not get enough chances to make it far enough. This time they do have the chances, so let's see. I'm really excited to see what miracle they can pull off.
Exactly right. Though it was kind of sad to see like our region in like our surrounding, Southeast Asia, is unable to participate. It still doesn't mean that like the wildcard regions are out of it, right? That it gives more power to the other wildcard regions where they can show up, they can actually pull off miracles or like upsets, right? We have known like wildcard region games are like such a fun to watch. Going back to stuff like Gigabyte Marines, even like all the way back to Kaboom, when they kicked out Alliance, when Alliance was a super team, like yeah, right from day one, these minor regions they have been able to bring in the new strategies and like the miracles because they are not under pressure. All they have to do is like if they win, yeah, fame and glory to you. If you lose, you had nothing to lose in the first place anyway. And it has started already, so yeah, they're like diving right into it.
Oh
TM
my
being
god. With Team 1 coming out TL, now that actually segues perfectly into what I wanted to talk about, which is NA. Now, NA, the way it was looking, it was TL and FlyQuest just sort of dominating the region. With C9, of course, the disappointing like team not being able to make it. But the other two teams, TL, FlyQuest, they sort of dominated the region up to playoffs. And then in the playoffs, after like TSM got 3-0'd, we saw this sort of resurgence come out from Bjergsen and double lifts especially. The way the form they showed and their ability to play different styles, I think it's going to be really clutch. NA generally known as the region, like the major region with no hope. I do think TSM, if any team can pull it off, is going to be them for sure. But again, I'm not going to give anything to NA because it is NA. This is the plane draw though. That's why we see TL. TL, the unexpected third seed after finishing first in the normal league stage of the group. So really unexpected. Now LGD, the fourth seed coming in from LPL. Now this team is like the opposite of TL in the sense that while TL is the third team and they weren't looking that strong, this is an LPL team, and even though they're in the plane, they're like the easy favorites. This is like going to be a breeze for them, just extra scrims, extra practice.
Exactly, right. LPL, like as a region, seems so strong that like they might even be like a league beyond and above every single other region, right? EU does really well in worlds and like in international performances, but at the end of the day, when EU and like LPL clash, it almost seems like, oh, EU is just LPL light, and there's nothing these guys can do against them. Hopefully that's not the case. I want to like watch more fun games where like everyone is like neck to neck, but still LPL such a strong region, and I need to address NA as well. Even though like my brothers from North America, they might seem as if like they're like not strong and they're not that good at the game. You gotta agree, NA games are like the most fun to watch because of the fan support and
Yep.
like the drama and the story behind everything. And there you go, the
Now,
third team being drafted.
yeah, I mean, now with the second team, Mad going into TL's group. I think it's TL's group. I'm really excited that Mad went into TL's group and not LGD's group because I think TL as a team need to be truly tested as to what they're capable of. They need the plane. Like I remember Coach JJ actually he flamed Double Lift a little bit in the interviews coming up. As you said, that's why NA is fun to watch because of the whole narrative surrounding it. But Coach JJ, I remember him saying that Double Lift will find the plane stage practice really useful. Ended up being TSM beating TL, TL now playing in the plane stage, getting that practice. But that's actually very serious because that practice can make you so much better going into group stage. TL, Mad Lions, both teams that coming from NA and EU, we expect to make it to the group stage. Mad Lions, the perfect team to test TL because the way they play is so innovative. Shadows, Lee Sin, Kaisers, like Wukong support, all brilliant picks against a very standard TL team. So I'm happy to see both the teams in the same group.
Exactly, right. And there's also the other thing where League is not a static game where things actually keep on changing
Yep.
as time passes on. We're going to get like constant patches and whatnot. So it comes down to who has actually put in more effort and like who has put in the time to learn the world's patch, right? Usually around worlds, you see a separate meta like developing around the entire tournament where teams scrim against each other. And it's going to create pseudo strengths in champions where like some teams might prefer it, and due to those champions being prevalent, you're going to see the counter picks coming in for those champions. So like it all depends on like the amount of work that the team puts in even before the game starts. And yeah, so far looking so good.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like in terms of the meta, like it's so different because like normally we as viewers, even this that the PCS team just coming out in PSG Talent, we expect teams like those and NAU to pick up like the Corkis, the Azirs, the scaling champions in the mid lane. In China, we're noticing with the Super Server that it's all Aurelion Sol, Kiana, all those early game picks that help you get make yourself a skirmish heavy composition, help you sort of just establish river control, get those early dragons. China really loves their early skirmishes. So it's as you said, right? It's going to be about which meta does come out, which team is able to adapt. And on that regard, like that's where I think the minor regions sort of stand their chance. They have like the lack of pressure to be able to define their own meta. I think that's how they can pull themselves back.
Exactly, right. And like you like league in general, the lanes and roles have been balanced when compared to the start of the season, where people are complaining AD is almost similar to a cannon minion or stuff like those, right? Riot did an okay job, or like even a good job in that regard. Where yeah, still people might complain, but it's like way better in terms of like impact on what each role can bring in. So it's not like you need a star mid laner to be able to win. Like as long as you know how to play the game, you can carry off of any player as long as they're good enough and they know what their role needs to do and the team works around it. So I personally don't think this is going to be one of those tournaments where you're going to have all your eyes on Faker, or like you're going to have your eyes on Uzi, where if you play against those people, you're doomed. That's not going to be the case. Teams have tools this time because obviously I believe the patch is like kind of decent when compared to a few other world's patch. Uh, the Juggernaut update being one of them, but still.
Yeah, I mean the Juggernaut one, the Ardent Sensor worlds, like there's just a few worlds very one-dimensional. I think you're definitely right. We did make some progress even last worlds towards not having that one-dimensional meta, and I think this worlds is truly one of those where sort of each region has the opportunity to decide what kind of meta it wants to play rather than just follow a meta. What's really interesting to me, I think, is how that has panned out because the sort of dethroning of giants didn't really happen only in the major regions. A lot of minor regions like Japan, as we just saw, detonation focus me like a sort of mainstay coming in from Japan. No more making it. It will be V3 instead. Similarly, in the PCS, like Gigabyte Marines, not actually making it instead, going to be Machi Esports, PSG, Talent Esports, both all sorts of new teams coming in, sort of making their stand at Worlds, and something I'm always excited to see. But here we see one of the mainstays from Turkey every single time this makes it. Team makes it. This super massive coming in. Really excited to see them in action, especially Zeitnot because he has a lot of experience and he's been known to pop off. So, as you said, the AD role has got some agency. If he can pop off, maybe he can carry them to the group stage.
Exactly. So, yeah, if you ever seen a tournament, then you must know who Supermassive is. Like
Yep.
they showed up every single time, and like they're one of those teams where you can't count out, even if you're like the best game in the like team in the tournament. Because if you make a mistake, they're gonna punish you and they're gonna steal the game away from you, regardless of who you are. And as you said, like this tournament, the team is gonna be the person who's able to adapt is gonna be the one who's gonna come out on top. So obviously. That has been prefaced by you mentioning all these great giants being like relegated off of the tournament and like these newcomers who have picked up the game and who have learned how to play the game properly for those current scenarios, they're showing up on top. So if the trend continues, like all our predictions might be out of the window for this one.
Yeah, and this is another team like Supermassive Unicorns of Love, like formerly of the EULCS, moved to I believe the Russian region after the whole branding sort of franchising happened for the LEC. They still have talent from Europe in general, especially their jungler Ahasik. He is known to be an absolute machine, and given the way like Nidalee and Lee Sin and all the early game jungle picks like Elise, even Evelyn sort of for the slightly more mid-game matchup, the way carry junglers are prevalent in the meta, I'm really excited to see these sort of extremely talented, like top ranked in the solo queue junglers sort take the game into their own hands.
Exactly right, and like when you see Nidalee, Lee Sins, Elise come out, it's gonna be either feast or famine, right? You're gonna
Yeah.
either see one of these players pop off and win the game for their team, or they're gonna be a glorified cannon minion, probably with a smite on their hand. So while it might not be the most efficient way to play the game, it's gonna be the most interesting way for to play the game if you wanna have a good audience and a good support behind you. And it's one of those things where you might see people complain, but still, it's gonna be really entertaining.
Yeah, so the last two teams for us, INTZ and Rainbow Seven, teams that I'm really excited to see how they've grown because something that we saw over the past few years in the South American region was the sort of split up in terms of franchise. It was not no longer going to be the single region like it was before. Instead, uh, giving opportunity to more teams to sort of try and make their stake in the game in itself. So it really interesting to see two like giants of the old age like Rainbow 7 INTZ, both like really old teams in the League of Legends scene, but not teams that we've seen recently over like the past year or two make it to Worlds. So the fact that they're making it back from the CB LOL and LLA, something that I'm really excited to see how these teams have grown and adapted to the fact that they did get dethroned and now they're making it back.
Exactly right. These are teams that you would only know if you were following League of Legends back in season 3 or season 4.
Yep.
They used to be the big names of the wildcard region. So hopefully they're not like they're able to stand up to what their expectations here are. Even though I did mention that there's no pressure, there is still pressure on these teams to represent their region, right? Everyone from their regions are looking at them to show up and do something. So yeah,
Yeah, so taking a look at the playing groups, I think Group A is really, really spicy with Team Liquid, Mad, and Supermassive. I think there's definitely room for some upsets involving that group because I feel like, given the way TL play, if Supermassive are just able to sort of adapt their playstyle to be a bit more early game, I think they could take down TL. I think Mad Lions is actually the favorite, but they did show like the signs of inexperience in the LEC playoffs where they sort of just got their stamina got tested in the number of best of fives they were able to play. So I'm really curious about how this purely rookie team, their first year in the LEC, making it to Worlds, can adapt and try to make it to the group stage.
Exactly right. So unlike Group B, where you have LG, there's no clear favorites in Group A. Yes, you
Yep.
can like obviously say something like, okay, I think Madlands are good, or like I think TL got this, but like there's not enough points, or like there's not enough reasons to suggest that this team is going to come out on top regardless of every other situation that can be present, right? You might not know, even INTC can take a game off of Madlands or Liquid if something happens, and like um, it is a best of one, right? I am assuming.
Yeah, so it's gonna
Yeah.
be the
So
round robin and then best of fives.
yeah, exactly. So like best of one, like even the best team in the world can lose a best of one in league due to the state of league and the comeback mechanics that are prevalent these days. Like before, you can't snowball that hard because like if you mess up a single team fight, you give off like I don't know 1k shutdowns, and like then that leads to a dragon. Now you don't have your third dragon to set up for your first dragon. You need to wait 10 more minutes. Then yeah, if the enemy has a scanning team, then you're done for it, right? So Group A, it's anyone's game at this point, according to what I can feel here, unless like I'm missing like some major points that like I'm unaware of.
I definitely agree with you, and I think Group B is a little close to that in the sense that while LGD are definitely the clear favorites to win the group, second place is a even bigger toss up than Group A because while you
Yeah.
have like the giants like Unicorns of Love and Rainbow Seven who will be trying to make their stake in trying to uh, secure their position going forward, you also have these sort of unknown teams in V3 and they're just sort of trying to pull themselves back into the World Series. They've made it this far. So those are the teams that truly have nothing to lose. Because as you mentioned, like while Rainbow Seven and Unicorns of Love, while it is sort of their comeback to the world stage, they still have the pressure in the fact that they have massive fan bases in their regions and like massive sort of support and long standing in the league regions. The newer teams like V3, Paris Saint-Germain, like they have absolutely nothing to lose right here. And as you said, best of ones, absolutely anything can happen. We could see a random Nocturne come off and pop off and kill everybody like Levi did a couple of years ago. We
Oh
could
god.
see the Ziggs come out like it did for Detonation Focus V. Just see picks that we only see in our solo queue games and just come and completely dominate.
Exactly. It's those games that I live for. It's one of those games where like like the crowd goes berserk as soon as the champion gets locked in, and we get to see how these teams have spent their entire preparation time just so that they could pull off that one pick or one strategy.
Yeah, for sure. Now though, we're moving towards like as many would feel the serious stage of
Quote
the
unquote
World's
the real
20.
deal.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely. And I like the fact that the first team drawn is actually a perfect segue from like the randomness we were talking about because that defines G2 esports. Their ability to sort of just use pure skill with these random drafts to find like unfathomable win conditions and just sort of pull away with the game is what G2 esports are best at. So I'm really excited to see them in action this Worlds.
exactly right. So G2 Esports, one of those teams where if you're an amateur team trying to learn how to play the game, you watch them
Yeah.
because they play the game beautifully. Uh, they don't rely on one person to always carry their game. Obviously, they're gonna have like strong players, but still, anyone in their team can step up and like they can take the game away from the enemy like within a few seconds of a game.
Yeah, for sure. Now,
Come
talking
on.
about anyone
Yeah.
in the team stepping up, this team, last Worlds, they were the unknown factor, the team with the pure skill coming in from the LCK, the team that was supposed to just completely stomp on you in lane, and they did do that. But they fell short in the quarterfinals, and that many people chalked it up to the fact that they didn't have as much experience. An entire year gone by, Giants dethroned, no SKT, no raw, no like Genji as such, Genji having to make their way through the gauntlet. This team like dominated their region, and they're coming back with a vengeance. They're one of the favorites in this tournament along with top esports, so they're definitely looking to just win the title for themselves, put LCK back on the map, and prove that LCK is the region it once used to be.
Exactly right. But the one thing that concerns me is like whenever there's this LCK team which with like super amount of hype, and that team is not called SKT, they usually end up choking.
Yep.
You can go back all the way to Taj and Blackspot and like even to like recent examples like Coup Tigers and like Damwon last year. LCK teams who have like performed really well in their region end up choking. Hopefully that's not the case this year, but that is something that we still need to remember.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
we're onto TSM territory now.
Ooh, I mean, I have to say, even though, like, as a caster, I couldn't possibly imagine NA actually having a chance at Worlds, I love this team. I've been, like, a Double Lift Bifrost fan for a huge amount of time, and the way they made their comeback in the playoff series, the way Broken Blade especially popped off, their picks coming out, like Lucian top, TF mid with the rapid fire cannon, like, all of those while standard in regions like LCK, LPL, even LEC, never before seen in NA actually utilized properly. Like, we all know the NA Jace, the NATF to some regard, the NA Lucian obviously double lift getting one shot. TSM
Exactly
sort of
right.
showing a resurgence, really nice for me.
Exactly, and like when we talk about NA, it's obviously the
Mm.
storylines and drama. You see BX and you see Double F. These players show up to every single Worlds just to be disappointed while they head back to home right away.
Yep.
So hopefully they get to show off in Worlds and get to pop off because these players are like really good players. They do deserve the spotlight and they do deserve some amount of like games that they win. Hopefully.
Yeah, especially Bjergsen, because, like, I think this tournament, there's so many brilliant mid laners, and this team, especially, we're seeing right now, my personal favorites to pull off the entire tournament. They have Karsa, they have Knight, and then they have my favorite support in the entire tournament in terms of PP Guard. And while many may not know that support, obviously everyone knows Karsa, everyone knows Jackie Love, who is in this team. They don't necessarily know the way their support of top esports has just sort of carried them in terms of versatility and playmaking. This team, absolutely insane. Knight, their mid laner, just no words can describe him. He's purely phenomenal. So with players like Knight, Bjergsen, Caps, even Nemesis when he's playing really well, it's going to be really exciting to see who comes out on top and who's defining the meta. Because while the NA and the EU mid laners sort of like playing the scaling picks, Knight will come out with the LeBlanc and just pop you in your face.
Exactly right. It's gonna be a coin flip, but if you can have a loaded coin, then like obviously you're gonna win. So yeah, I do say one of those games where the meta can be broken, even though like I kind of feel like initially the planes are gonna set up what the meta is gonna be for later stages of groups. Oh, okay. LPL number 3 coming in.
Yeah, Suning Gaming going into the group, I believe with G2. Now, this is where I think the entire group draw gets really interesting. Because
Mhm.
Suning Gaming, they're the second seed from LPL, the team that actually gave Top Esports a run for their money. And G2, they're always the team for me in the LEC, or even G2 and Fnatic both. They're not known for their, like, not known exactly for their ability to sort of just beat these LPL teams or LCK teams. They're known for their ability to adapt to the meta. So, like, one thing that we've both seen in common is like how the meta constantly changes with every sort of even best of one going in, and the fact that this group stage is going to be a double round robin really interesting. So G2, Suning Gaming, both very different teams in the sense that Suning Gaming, a very cohesive unit that functions off of each other and interdependence of sort. G2 just explosive, volatile. If one member fails, the entire team fails.
Exactly right, and we have to go back to like the idea, or not even the idea, the past trend of LEC struggling against LPL
Yep.
due to probably intrinsic play styles or meta or like whatever it is. Usually, LEC finds difficulty in taking down LPL teams. Oh, JD Gaming coming in.
So JDG giving the third seed coming in from the LPL, and yeah, to just pick up where you left off, like I definitely agree. LEC does struggle versus the LPL. I think because at this point it's sort of become that mental advantage for the LPL in the amount they've beaten them, because LEC is, they strive to be the LPL, but LPL, they're always one step ahead given the fact that they have their own identity. So that's going to be where I'm looking at G2. This G2 squad, who with players like Yarnin, of course, no offense meant to Yarnin, but like Perks in AD carry is much more of an upgrade as compared to Yarnin and Vadid and Perks and Mickey. So like with the fact that they were able to use the Heimerdinger Yarnin to make it to quarterfinals, make it to semifinals even, I definitely excited to see. Now JDG going into, I think, what might end up being the group of death with Damwon is going to be really, really interesting to see, because JDG, they're another team that are known for their volatility in that they either completely pop off or they look like they're inting, and that's actually exactly the playstyle you want against Damwon.
Exactly right. So, like, if you're gonna expect someone to not have their A game, traditionally from a region which tends to choke, and you're someone who likes to coin flip a lot, and you might run away with the game, then yeah, perfect. You're a perfect opponent for them. Oh, Fnatic, good
Yeah,
play.
I mean, I think TSM right now they're just jumping in their seats because no, like nothing meant to Fnatic whatsoever. But if I had a choice between LPL second seed, LPL third seed, and Fnatic, I'd be like, please,
You
please,
pick
please,
Fnatic every
Fnatic.
single time here.
And especially given the way TSM sort of play, right? Like Fnatic looking a bit sort of inconsistent from the regional playoffs. I think TSM will definitely be happy. And I think the same goes for Fnatic, because if they didn't come here, they would go into the group with top esports. But Dragon X, the last LCK team going into top esports, I think our boys in NA and EU are actually pretty damn happy with this group draw right now, because LCK LPL just going ham against each other.
I mean, I'm pretty happy as well. It's gonna be the Rift rivalry. It's gonna be NA versus EU and like China versus Korea all over again, and that's something that you wanna watch every single time, because like regardless of the region strengths, these games are going to be so fun to watch. There's going to be so much trash talking. And as someone who loves drama, I enjoy those trash talking.
Yep.
And of course, and like you mentioned, against BX and Nemesis is not, you can't rely on Nemesis to hard shut down BXN, right?
Yep.
You're going to have to play as a team if you want to take down TSM and vice versa as well. Because like every single player in each roles can match each other. I believe Nemesis can match PXN, and obviously Reckless can match Double Lift in like good scenarios. So it's going to end up on the other three players of each team to like show up and like outperform their counterparts.
Yeah, I think the biggest like advantage for TSM in that regard is actually besides the mid lane matchup, the way Fnatic functions actually is Hylissang roaming, leaving bot lane to try and make plays everywhere else. One of their biggest criticisms has been the lack of sort of 2v2 power in Reckless and Hylissang. What Doublelift and Biofrost are known for, the reason Biofrost came in back into the team instead of Treats, who was their substitute, is their 2v2 power. Now, that's going to be so stacked in their favor. Rogue, though, this team went from last year, I think being the 10th place team, to almost to finishing top in the top two in the regional standing itself, and then almost making it to the finals, almost beating G2, taking G2 to a 5-game series. A team that is sort of very simple in the way they play. They play very scaling, very team fight oriented, very meta games. But YOLO Lloyd mentioned that he feels TSM is going to win Worlds, but I think the more relevant point he mentioned is Hans Sama. We've seen Hans Sama before, and in Worlds, Misfits Hans Sama, the people who did almost take down SKT, but also the Hans Sama who jumped in with that Tristana and almost inted for his team completely. Going into the group, which I think favors them the most, because both of the teams in Group B, not those late game teams, the teams known for winning lanes. So if Rogue able to hold lanes, maybe they can pull off an upset.
Exactly right. It kind of reminds me of like olden days CLG where they had
Yep.
6A, they had Huhi, and they also had what was his name again? Their jungler who used to message one else.
Rainover?
No, not Rainover. He's a super popular person. Why am I not forgetting names? I'm not playing on World, so I don't know why I'm the one who's nervous here. But still, what I'm trying to say here is like the standard teams where you don't expect them to win because they're not flashing, But still,
Xmithy.
they're gonna play the perfect game of League of Legends. So like, you gotta watch out for them.
Yeah, for sure. I just remembered. It's Xmithy. I can't remember. I can't believe I
Yeah,
forgot that too.
expert they all the way, man.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, so now Machi Esports going into Group A. And Bishi, I completely agree with you. Suning, as I mentioned before, I think it's actually one of the preferable matchups for G2 in the sense that G2 want an opponent who they can understand, who they can read into. They don't want that random opponent, so they can use their random playstyle. Now getting the PCS team into their group gonna make life a lot easier. FlyQuest though, they will go into Group D, which is going to
Okay.
be almost death for them because Top Esports, Dragon X from LCK. Oh, Power of
Fly,
Evil is gonna have to pull off some insane picks now.
FlyQuest needs a miracle at this point.
Yep.
Like judging by like the scene till this day, FlyQuest does indeed require a miracle. Maybe they have improved and they have figured things. Like we don't know about that yet, but like judging by current statistics and current data that we have, this is going to be a really difficult group for FlyQuest.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like especially playstyle wise, because Top Esports they're just gonna run away with this group in like how like aggressive they are. FlyQuest, even Dragon X, not necessarily known for that aggressive playstyle. What I will give FlyQuest though, this is their first appearance, and we've seen Power of Evil and Ignar. Now I remember Ignar for like I believe it was the Hail of Blades Leona back in the day, where he just pulled off
Exactly.
completely insane plays and sort of just carried his team individually. So I think there are players who can just completely pop off.
If Igna doesn't pick Pantheon, they actually can put up a fight. Yeah,
Oh
true.
boy.
I believe so. Uh,
So yeah, Genji, LCK third seed, gonna go into TSM's group, and
mhm.
I don't think NA is actually. I think NA is more happy than sad. I mean, I think any draw would have been bad for NA unless they literally got the PCS and Fnatic in the same group for TSM. Now then TSM would literally just lose their mind. They'd be like, oh my god, if you don't make it to Worlds now, we should just retire. But Gen G is actually, I think, the easiest team from all the major regions because while Genji is a very consistent team, they're just that. They're not known for their explosive lanes. They're known for getting Ruler on his Ezreal or his main carry, get him to that point where he can carry the game. Now, while Doublelift, he may be slightly washed up, he has shown a resurgence of
Slightly.
sorts.
Exactly.
He's definitely
Let's go with that.
shown. Yeah, they've definitely shown this capability to like every team we've seen Doublelift in, he's sort of forced to be the major carry. And with TSM, he actually feels like more of a supportive carry rather than the major carry, with people like Broken Blade and Bjergsen stepping up. So maybe, just maybe, Bjergsen can run away with the game against Genji. I think TSM, if anywhere, I think if anywhere NA stands a chance, it is TSM. So I'm really excited to see if Bjergsen on his Worlds comeback can actually make quarterfinals.
Yeah, the only problem that I see here is like there have been seasons where there has been a super dominant team on NA, right?
Yep.
You've seen your TSMs, you've seen your Cloud9s, and they show up to Worlds, they don't make it past group stage. And this season hasn't been like no one has been consistent the entire season on NA. It has been teams like throwing their positions around here and there, and like so many upsets and so many disappointments. So it could go in two routes, right? It could be that the region is more competitive now, so the players actually had to work hard to get to their like spots. It's either that or the region is like entirely trash and no one knows how to play. So I still can't predict which one of those is the case because, like, yes, there are gonna be factors. You can look at their gameplay and you can be like, okay, these teams don't do X, Y, and Z, hence they are good or bad. The problem is, unless you get to play against these international teams, you can't judge how good they are in the world stage, right? Because if you're playing against bad teams, you're gonna look bad in terms of your gameplay, regardless of how good you are.
Yeah, for sure. And something I just realized, which is gonna make TSM really sad because I'm sure they've realized it too, is that Group A, Group B, and Group D all have an LPL team. You know where else there's an LPL team? In the play-in groups. And that LPL
Ah,
team is going to make it out of the play-in groups directly into Group C because there's nowhere else they can go, and it's gonna end up being TSM, Fnatic, Genji, and the LPL team. And I think while the LPL team being there doesn't affect TSM as much because they're still like, yeah, I guess if we had to take an LPL team, it
No,
might as well be the LPL fourth seed instead of the first, second, or third. But that's that's just gonna
no, no,
throw another thorn
no, no. Let's
into.
just call it as it is. Too. TSM is screwed at this point.
I mean,
We were like hopeful for TSM when we saw that Fnatic was like the second pick for their group, but then they
yep,
got a Gen G, and now they probably have LGD.
yep,
While it, in theory, it shouldn't stop you from getting out of groups, but it's still like I'm looking at NA's past performance and like their past records, and it doesn't look that good for them. I'm still unsure. Like not only me, like no one in the world has yet figured out why NA like chokes so hard in Worlds, right? Two things consistent in Worlds, so it's gonna be cocky mid lane and NA choking. So it kind of seems yikes for me. I don't know about that one.
yeah. I mean, TL though they're going to likely make it into either Group A or Group B. I think if
Mm-hmm.
TL show sort of a different side to them in the group stages, if they're able to sort of mimic a proper playstyle, the early game playstyle, if the Broxa is able to actually showcase why he's known for his Lee Sin, and they make it into Group A, suddenly I think TL does stand a chance against Suning Gaming because G2 obviously I expect to run away with the group, but the other team is the PCS team, so maybe, just maybe, TL will stand a chance. Group B though, if they come in, TL right here, they're dead. They're just absolutely dead. Rogue will shit on them with their own playstyle. JDG will just be like, okay, bro, we'll see you in 20 minutes at your Nexus. Damwon, they will literally just be like, please, FF15.
Exactly right. Like I said, I do. I do think like it would be more enjoyable if the games are even, but still, I don't believe we are here to say that every team is equal in its own right or whatever. We
Yeah,
are here to like, discuss how things are gonna go. So far, it seems like NA is gonna have to put everything on the TL basket, right? If I remember correctly, who are FlagQuest is out, right? FlagQuest
yeah.
is out.
Quest is gone.
I was thinking who the third team was, then I realized it doesn't even matter
Yep.
from what the groups they got. So it's gonna be like they need to rely on tier to like get out of groups for NA, right? You can still look for TSM if you like them, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're gonna go with statistics, TL has a higher chance of getting out
Yep.
than TSM because yeah, obviously, right? You have you have Fnatic who can pull off an upset. I don't think I can even call that an upset because, like, I believe in my mind at least, Fnatic and TSM seems equal enough due to like regional power and stuff like those. Even though, like, obviously, like you stated, TSM like showed up really well in like the gauntlets and like those stuff, but still, Fnatic is from LAC and they should have like more resources in terms of improvement and whatnot. Um,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
yeah,
I mean,
it's like wide open, but still, dear.
I will say I'm a little bit of a like TSM fanboy. Like when I first started getting into League of Legends esports was Double If's break season. This is the
Mhm.
season after they won the region with TSM, and then he took a break, and then he came back and they dominated. So that sort of storyline still stuck in my head. With the way Bjergsen, especially, he's been so good since that time. Like nobody can argue that Bjergsen is washed up or whatever because Bjergsen he's maintained. He's also sort of expanded his playstyle. He used to be known for the Syndras, the mages where he could absolutely pop off. Now he has his own picks in the Zillion, even the TF, the way he carries his team in that regard. So I will still carry a faint ray of hope for TSM going forward because it's definitely, as you say, it's about adaptability. And Fnatic being from the LEC, adaptability is sort of in their veins and in their capabilities. So it's just gonna come down to which team is able to pull that right off. But I'm really excited because on this show, What Does the Fox Say? I will be covering with Tsubasa and other special guests over the weeks. Weekly, just the exciting games happening, like the TL versus Mad in the plains, the TSM versus the Fnatic in the group stages, even Top Esports versus Dragon X, which I do think will be a great game whatsoever. Amongst all that, I know I'm personally really excited for the Yasuo to come out from Perks in the bot lane. So maybe we'll get to cover that too.
Gotta have one of those every single tournament, else it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. But
But
with
yeah,
that,
looking forward to of course, I'm gonna look forward to every single game in this, right?
yep.
Obviously, there are these top level teams playing in them, and like I mentioned at the start, I love watching the wildcard regions or the underdogs play these games because, unlike the top teams who already have a set defined play style and they come in expecting to just play their style and win the game, the underdogs, they're going to show up with tons of research. They're going to think of strategies and they're going to craft these strategies against these top teams. It may work, it may not work, but still, it's going to be such a pleasure to watch them execute those stuff. And when it does work out, oh man, is it going to be high fee.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure. I
mhm,
mean, so that's what I think all of us will be focusing on moving forward, because for the next 2 weeks or such, the actual like group stages don't matter as much. It's going to be purely play-in stages. So really excited to see what these undercard teams can pull out, what Mad Lions will pull out. Mad Lions, the first team to bring out that Senna Wukong combo for
mhm.
the entire world. So definitely a team that has shown creativity. But yeah, now with that group stage done, that will be it from us for just now. We will be back. I will be releasing a sort of prediction sheet for everybody to participate in later this week, and then we'll be back after September 25th once World starts with the first game, covering and breaking it down for you by me and hopefully Tsubasa and potentially other special guests. If you do like the way we covered the content today, and if you would like to see more of it, please drop a follow. It's really appreciated. Thank you, Potato Monster, for the follow. I know who Potato Monster is. uh,
What do you mean by the unexpected potato monster? I didn't expect that actually.
but yeah.
Anyways, yeah, thank you very much for having me here. It's a blast always when I get to sit down and talk about League. Even though it has been so long, I don't even play the game these days, but it's still like everyone is passionate about the game. And when it's World season, even someone who has quit the game comes back just so that say, like they could watch Worlds, right? It's one of those like holy festivals if you're a League of
Yep.
Legends
Yep.
player. So really looking forward to it.
That's exactly it. Like, even though you may not be religious, you will show up on Diwali to just have that amazing food, and or like even Eid to just sort of get that festive spirit going. And even though we may not be as in tune to League of Legends as say we were perhaps 2 years, Worlds is still that event that gives every single one of us goosebumps and something we look forward to. So really excited to see it go into action. Thank you guys for coming out. Thank you for watching. Remember, also drop a like on the Excellences Esports Facebook page if you do enjoy this. It's been amazing having Tsubasa and Excellences' support to get this started, and it's something that I've personally always wanted to do. But yeah, that's gonna be all from us. Just thank you for showing up, and we'll see you soon. See you really soon.
Thank you.